In the darkest corners of history, there are stories that chill us to the bone. During World War II, one such story unfolded in the Philippines, where over 1 million civilians lost their lives. World War II, a conflict that swept across the globe from 1939 to 1945, is widely recognized for its unprecedented scale and devastation. Yet, tucked away amidst this global narrative, we find the Philippines, an archipelago of over 7,000 islands in the Pacific Ocean, ensnared in the throes of this great war. The Philippines, then a Commonwealth of the United States, found itself caught in a devastating crossfire between the Allied and Axis powers. The islands became a strategic battlefield, and the Filipino people bore the brunt of this cataclysmic conflict. Over 1 million lives were lost, a stark testament to the horror and brutality of war. These were not just numbers, but fathers and mothers, sons and daughters, friends and neighbors. Their dreams and aspirations were snuffed out in the blink of an eye, leaving behind a nation scarred and a people grieving. Yet, amidst the darkness, there were tales of courage and resilience, stories that, to this day, continue to inspire and stir the soul. We'll delve into 3 such events that marked this period: the Battle of Manila, the Bataan Death March, and the daring raid to free prisoners of war. The Battle of Manila, a fierce urban combat that resulted in the destruction of one of Asia's most beautiful cities. The Bataan Death March, a horrendous journey of abuse and torment that showcased the indomitable spirit of the Filipino and American soldiers. And finally, the audacious raid that led to the liberation of over 500 prisoners of war, a beacon of hope in an otherwise grim scenario. This is their story, a tale of bravery, resilience, and the will to survive. In 1945, the city of Manila became a battleground. The stakes were high and the price was devastating. In the early days of February, the Battle of Manila erupted with ferocious intensity. This wasn't just any ordinary conflict. It was a brutal, drawn-out urban battle that would leave Manila in ruins and its people scarred for life. American forces, led by General Douglas MacArthur, aimed to liberate Manila from the Japanese control that had lasted for 3 harrowing years. The Japanese, under General Tomoyuki Yamashita, were determined to hold their ground. The tactics employed by both sides varied greatly, making the battle even more unpredictable and deadly. The American forces, vastly superior in numbers and firepower, advanced steadily, employing a strategy of steady encirclement and cautious progression. The Japanese, on the other hand, resorted to guerrilla warfare. They turned the city into a fortress, using buildings, parks, and even churches as strongholds. They dug tunnels, laid mines, and set up booby traps, turning the city into a lethal maze. The battle dragged on for a month filled with ceaseless gunfire, deafening explosions, and the cries of the wounded. Casualties mounted on both sides, but it was the civilians who bore the brunt of the devastation. Tens of thousands perished, caught in the crossfire or mercilessly killed. The city, once known as the Pearl of the Orient, was left in ruins, its buildings reduced to rubble, its streets littered with debris and the remnants of war. Finally, on March 3rd, the American forces declared Manila liberated, but the victory came at a terrible cost. The city was devastated, its infrastructure shattered, and its population decimated. The Battle of Manila was one of the most brutal episodes of World War II, a stark reminder of the horrors of war and the price paid by innocent civilians. In the aftermath, Manila faced a Herculean task of rebuilding, not just its damaged buildings, but also the broken lives of its people. The battle left deep scars on the city and its inhabitants, scars that would take decades to heal. The city's vibrant culture, its rich history, all were overshadowed by the grim memories of the battle. Yet amidst the ruins, the spirit of Manila remained unbroken. The resilience of its people shone through. They picked up the pieces, slowly but surely, rebuilding their homes, their lives, and their city. The struggle was immense, but the people of Manila proved that they were stronger than the devastation that had been wrought upon them. The Battle of Manila was indeed a testament to the human spirit. The courage, resilience, and determination of the people of Manila their ability to rise from the ashes, is a story that needs to be told and remembered. It reminds us of the strength of the human spirit, of our capacity to endure, to overcome, and to rebuild. The Battle of Manila was a testament to the human spirit, but the ordeal was far from over. In the aftermath of the Battle of Bataan, a horrific event unfolded, one that would go down in history as the Bataan Death March. In April 1942, following the fall of Bataan to the Japanese, approximately 70,000 American and Filipino prisoners of war found themselves at the mercy of their captors. The soldiers, weak, starving, and exhausted from the battle, were forced to embark on a grueling journey that would test the limits of human endurance. This was the Bataan Death March, a forced march of around 65 miles from Mariveles, on the southern end of the Bataan Peninsula, to San Fernando. The prisoners were then packed into sweltering boxcars, in conditions so cramped that they could barely move, and transported a further 24 miles to Capas. From there, they had to walk another 6 miles to their final destination, the notorious Camp O'Donnell. The conditions these men endured were beyond inhumane. They were given little to no food or water, and the tropical heat was relentless. Men who fell, too weak to continue, were either left to die by the roadside or summarily executed. The same fate was meted out to those who attempted to escape. The march took about a week to complete, and by the end the toll was devastating. Thousands perished along the way, succumbing to exhaustion, malnutrition, disease, or at the hands of their captors. News of the atrocities committed during the Bataan Death March reverberated around the world. The international community was shocked and horrified. The march was branded as a war crime, and the Japanese commanders responsible were later held accountable at the Tokyo war crimes trials. Yet at the time, there was little the world could do but watch in helpless despair. The tide of the war had not yet turned, and the Philippines remained under Japanese control. But the stories of the survivors, their bravery, their endurance, and their unbroken spirit served as a powerful rallying cry. They were a stark reminder of the cost of freedom, the horrors of war, and the urgent need for victory. The Bataan Death March was a grim reminder of the brutalities of war. Yet for those who survived, another challenge awaited. The prisoners who reached Camp O'Donnell were faced with even more hardships. Disease was rampant, food and water were scarce, and the brutal treatment by their captors continued. Yet, amid the despair and suffering, there were also stories of resilience and hope. The survivors formed bonds that lasted a lifetime, helping each other to stay alive, sharing what little they had, and maintaining a sense of humanity in the face of relentless dehumanization. It is these stories that we remember today as we honor the memory of those who perished and pay tribute to the survivors. The Bataan Death March serves as a powerful reminder of the depths to which humanity can sink during times of war, but also of the strength and resilience of the human spirit. The Bataan Death March was a grim reminder of the brutalities of war. Yet, for those who survived, another challenge awaited. In a desperate bid for freedom, a daring raid was launched to free the remaining prisoners of war. A daring, audacious plan was hatched, a plan that would test the mettle and determination of all those involved, a plan that would offer a glimmer of hope in a time of despair. This was no ordinary mission. It was a raid to free those who had been held captive, a mission that would require courage, cunning, and an unwavering belief in the cause. The planning was meticulous. The stakes were high. Every detail was scrutinized, every eventuality considered. The planners knew that one false move could spell disaster. The element of surprise was their greatest weapon, but it was a double-edged sword. If discovered prematurely, the raid would be doomed before it even began. The execution of the raid was a masterclass in precision and bravery. The raiders moved like shadows in the night, their hearts pounding in their chests, their minds focused on the task at hand. They knew that failure was not an option, that they carried the hopes and dreams of countless men and women on their shoulders. The risks were immense. The enemy was formidable, their numbers overwhelming, but the raiders were not deterred. They were driven by a sense of duty, a sense of purpose. They were willing to lay down their lives for their comrades, for the promise of freedom. The air was thick with tension as they approached the prison gates, their every move watched by the vigilant guards. Then the battle erupted. The raiders struck with the ferocity of a storm, their actions swift and decisive. The guards were taken by surprise, their ranks thrown into disarray. The raiders fought with everything they had, their determination unyielding. They knew that every second counted, that every moment was precious. The result of the raid was nothing short of miraculous. The prisoners were freed, their chains of captivity broken. They emerged from the darkness, their faces etched with relief and gratitude. They were no longer prisoners, but free men. The raiders had accomplished their mission, their bravery and determination had paid off. But the raid was more than just a military operation. It was a symbol of defiance, a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. It was a testament to the indomitable human spirit, a testament to the power of hope and determination. The raiders had not only freed the prisoners, but they had also rekindled the flame of hope in the hearts of countless men and women. The raid was a beacon of hope in the darkest of times, a symbol of defiance against the oppressors. It was a moment that would forever be etched in the annals of history, a moment that would inspire generations to come. It was a moment that proved that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, the human spirit could triumph. The events of World War II left an indelible mark on the Philippines and the world. The aftermath of the war left the Philippines in ruins. Cities were destroyed, and the land was scarred by the harsh footprints of battle. The once bustling city of Manila, known as the Pearl of the Orient, was reduced to rubble. The Battle of Manila alone claimed over 100,000 lives, many of them civilians. The loss was not just in lives, but in the rich cultural heritage and infrastructure, a loss from which the country would take years to recover. The Bataan Death March, a forced march of approximately 65 miles under the scorching tropical sun, resulted in the death of thousands of Filipino and American soldiers. This horrific event highlighted the brutal treatment of prisoners of war, leaving a permanent scar on the nation's psyche. It's not just a tale of suffering and death, but also of resilience and survival. The raid to free prisoners of war, an audacious rescue mission, showcased the courage and dedication of the Allied forces. This event, while a beacon of hope amidst the devastation, also underscored the harsh reality of war. The joy of liberation was often marred by the physical and psychological trauma endured by the prisoners. The ramifications of these events extended beyond the Philippines. The scale of devastation and loss of life during World War II led to a global reassessment of the rules of war. The Geneva Convention was strengthened, with specific provisions introduced for the protection of civilians in conflict zones and the treatment of prisoners of war. The world watched in horror as the stories from the Philippines unfolded, leading to a surge in international solidarity. The war also marked the beginning of a new era in international relations. The formation of the United Nations in the immediate aftermath of the war was a testament to the global commitment to preventing such atrocities from recurring. The war also changed the Philippines' relationship with the United States. The shared experiences during the war strengthened their bond, leading to a close political and military alliance that continues to this day. The war also fostered a sense of national identity among Filipinos, reinforcing their resolve to fight for their country's independence, which they achieved shortly after the war in 1946. In the face of unimaginable horrors, the people of the Philippines showed their unyielding spirit. Their stories, etched in history, remind us of the cost of war and the enduring strength of humanity.